Hi everyone. Good morning. Well, I guess we shouldn't say good morning anymore because we understand what mourning is. Mourning death. Breaking old patterns are tough, and I think all of us are trying to work on breaking some of our verbal patterns as well as the mental patterns that we are dealing with, the programs that we've been installed with since we were very young children. So when I was on Wayne yesterday, we were talking about the soul and what is the soul and where do we get our soul and what how does our soul exist after we leave here, and we're all these questions about the soul. I've been asking that question for a long time, and there's so many different ways that people have described the soul and how it was formed and what is its function. And in this book I was reading, the Angelic Origins of Soul. And this is the book we've been reading by Tricia McCannon. And she goes into the divine spark and that's the soul. And then it talks about the Brahman. And we'll read some of that because I think that this is very interesting and it added so much to what Wayne was discussing. But before I read you this one, I wanted to show you in this book, they speak of the soul. And this is what they say about soul and spirit. It says, soul and spirit are not to be conceived of as one and the same. The soul is the natural consciousness of life without the higher realization of worlds that have preceded this world and worlds that are to come. The soul must go through many formations, transformations, and rebirth before it can be intertwined with the divine consciousness of the Overself. Now, see, this is what I have come to believe. It's taken me quite a while to get to this position. But once I started to connect with my, I guess you would call it the etheric twin or your energy double, once I started to have a connection and an awareness to my energy body, my energetic part of myself that is literally still connected to this physical body, that's when I started to get an understanding of the higher self or oversoul. And I think that the oversoul is what holds all of you. So you're fractaled down in this existence. This is a part of you. But your fullness, your oversoul, it's always residing in the higher realms, and it never descends down into the deeper levels of consciousness, because it's almost like it would almost like infect it. It would bring its vibration down, so it would never do that. It sends a part of itself, but it would never bring its fullness down into these realms. So that's the best way I can explain what they were showing to me. So the overself. Okay, second, when one understands that the soul is not the same as the spirit, that took me a while to learn that too. One petitions the Godhead for higher counsel to achieve true knowledge. This is why we go to the higher self and true wisdom. At that time, the spirit of higher reason is given by God for inspiration and understanding of the multiple levels of the divine mind. Finally, when the spirit and the soul are synthesized. Interesting word, symphony, sound, synthesized. The higher aspirations of the union creates the sovereign soul of light. Now this is a very powerful word, sovereign. Sovereign means no ruler over you. That you are ruler over you. It means you are free. Completely free to choose and not bound. You are not a slave. You are free. Sovereign soul of light, which is called into the light to beget the fruits of divinity and anoint those who are called to do the work of the divine mind as a vehicle of higher love and wisdom. The formation of the soul-spirit unity necessary to work in the many-mansion worlds. This requires the balance between the first and second triad sonships. And a triad sonship, they were explaining, would be the spirit, the soul, and then the blending of the two is the connection to the higher self or higher mind or the sovereign soul of light. So that is one interpretation of soul. And then we will look at a couple others. Now I thought, this is again Angelic Origins of Soul. And this talks about the soul as the spark of light, the flame as a symbol for the illumination of soul. So, this is beautiful. Love, light, and sound. I read this to you guys before, but it's been a while, and this is definitely a good thing to look at when we're talking about, again, the soul. Because this is where I've gone into is the difference between this photon and the phonon. So, love, light, and sound. In truth, the symbolism of light has always been linked to both the Creator and to the enduring power of the soul, or the flame within each one of us. Many esoteric traditions have taught that God, the Divine One, manifests through the twin powers of light and sound, bringing all things into being through the power of the Logos, or the Holy Word. Inherent in the Logos, the controlling principle of this universe, are three eternal principles: love, sound, and light. This is the ultimate Trinity. These three aspects are also reflected in the 9 orders of the angels. For the angels can appear as moving waveforms of color, light, and sacred geometry. I have seen this. And they can appear moving as waveforms that are often accompanied by the sounds of celestial melodies. The ancient sages in both the ancient Egyptian and Eastern spiritual traditions taught that this is through these three principles that the entire universe came into being. Today, through the quantum physics, we know that sound that creates and sustains all the visible world. Science calls these packets of sound phonons, which are then converted into photons, or visible units of light, eventually becoming the foundation for all physical matter. In the Gospel of John 1:1, we read, "In the beginning was the Word. The Word is a sacred sound that sets everything into motion." It has been known by 1,000 names in 100 different religions. By the Native Americans, to the Jews, to the Egyptians, to the Muslims, the Christians, they all have names for this being: Allah, Yahweh, Great Spirit, Christ, Supreme Creator, pure consciousness, divine intelligence, and the Lord. So, the lotus flower and the rose. Buddha taught that the soul was like the lotus. It rises from the mud and blossoms into a 1,000-petal lotus, the symbol of the crown chakra, which allows us to connect with our divine self as we awaken into the light of our own being. Many spiritual paths also conceive of the soul as being feminine. So I also have been shown that the soul might be the feminine aspect, because it's more of the templates and the womb to make everything function and possible. You have to have the soul to animate in this realm as a spirit soul-based consciousness, to share consciousness with the Creator. The soul, the spark must be present, or you can't communicate with Creator. And I think you would lose the moral compass. It wouldn't be present. And I think that's why we do see beings on this planet that are void of soul. And when they're void of soul, they don't carry the spark, which is the heat. So if a being is very cold to the touch, that might be a signal right straight away. They might not be soul, because they don't have the spark, the fire within. So pay attention to temperatures. So the cosmic seed and the tree of life. This is what Plato taught about the soul. The various mystery schools compared the soul to a cosmic seed that has fallen from the tree of life. And I literally saw that. I saw a tree dropping seeds, and the seeds were shown to me as flowers, and the flowers had 6 petals on them, and then I was shown the 6-pointed star, and then the 6 petals, and then I was shown the Magivian man, which is the man, you know, the statue where he's like this and in the circle and the square. I was shown that. So it was showing me that the 6 is like the template for the man. And but it's controlled by the central spark, which is the 7th, which is you. So the tree of life is certainly this oval form as the shape of our auric body. You see, they're showing it like this. So the ancients believed that the soul was like a seed. It is imbued with a blueprint of the entire cosmos, and that is exactly what I was shown. Yet it knows not. Instead, it is layered with various energy bodies: physical, astral, mental, emotional, and causal. And these are both helpful in its growth and development, as well as limiting in the soul's ability to be in touch with its own eternal nature. Those layers are the veils. Those are the veils that keep you from remembering what you really are. The seed can only grow into awareness over time by meeting the various lessons and challenges of lifetimes. It does so best when it is nourished by love. The tree of life is the soul's parent, a force that is rooted in the absolute. The eternal tree which spreads its shoots downward, thus creating billions of worlds. And that's what I saw too. I saw worlds looking like cells, like the tree is wrapped in a cell. It's a cell. And each one of those trees is a tree of knowledge. And each one of those trees holds all of the blueprints of that world. So when you come into a new world, you come in through the tree of life, which is, it's a template. And you have to go through this template so you can merge with this template. And then you go into the physicality or the form being whatever form it is, because you can take on many forms. So you go into the template, into that construct, taking on all of those layers. And those layers make you become that which you were intended to become. So you take on that form through that veiling and that layering of losing the memory of what you truly are. You become a new creation. Consciousness expressing in form. But your consciousness is always with you, and it's never altered. It's just basically it's added to. It transforms and it expands with its growth of knowledge. So the more knowledge it can hold and process and literally integrate into its being, these are the more colors and more layers of your light that get to go with you when you leave. It's you become the sound and the light of that which you've experienced and created. So these are like badges that you wear upon your field when you're done. You adopt new colors and new frequencies by experiencing. So through nothing's real until you feel it. So through the direct experiences through form, we process the emotions and the feelings of things at a much deeper level. The Lord would always tell me, nothing is real until you feel it. And he would explain to me when I was little, he was like, you don't understand heartbreak yet. He says, but you will. And he says, and when you do, all the stories that you heard of it will fail in comparison to that which you feel about it. And wow, was he right. So with that, we feel to really truly learn, because through that feeling, you adopt the knowing. So this is the goal. We come here to know, to learn how to remember, to know. So this is I think the goal is to go from forgetfulness to reconnecting to the part of you that knows. And it knows I am. So they talk about the tree and the roots going down, creating millions of worlds and millions of dimensions. The mystical tree is an energetic bridge between the realms of heaven and earth, providing a roadmap so that the soul can find its way back home. One day, ancient wisdom teaches, each soul will become one with the tree of life, having attained mastery over many countless eons of time. The tree is the rainbow bridge that binds heaven and earth together. Therefore, it is not surprising that many of the great world saviors have been linked to this tree, including Jesus, Osiris, Krishna, Odin, Thoth, and Quetzalcoatl. And as a fully realized God-men, their job was to act as mediators or a bridge between the heavenly realms and dimensions of form that is earth, reminding each soul that the divine spark lives inside of us. Sacred geometry draws the seed of life with 6 perfect circles around a central circle, representing the 6 movements of creation spoken of in the Bible. These movements were honored in the 6 days of creation, and the 7th day was the day of rest, represented by the holy day of the Sabbath. And this is what they show for the 6. So, then we will also go into another perspective of soul, which is Persephone and the eternal soul. The concept of the soul as the cosmic seed that has fallen from the tree of life was woven into the deepest initiation rites of the Eleusinian mysteries. Over 3,000 years ago, told in the story of the Greek goddess Demeter and Persephone, the divine mother and daughter. This is similar to the concepts of the Divine Father and Son in Christianity. In this story, told as an initiatory tale, Persephone, the innocent, unevolved soul, the cosmic seed who has fallen from the tree of life. She is innocent, an innocent maiden who has fallen away from her connection with the divine parent and has become lost in the worlds of matter. In this tale, Persephone is out picking flowers in a meadow one day when suddenly the ground beneath her opens up and Hades, the god king of the underworld, arrives in his chariot, and he scoops her up and carries her off to the realm of the lost spirits. Souls in the underworld that have become lost to themselves, having forgotten their connection to the divine spark within. After her abduction, Persephone's mother, Demeter, looks for her daughter in vain, because Demeter is the earth mother of life. Her grief causes earth to begin to dry up, so the other gods became alarmed. Eventually, Hermes, the Greek god of wisdom, reveals to Demeter that Persephone had been kidnapped and now resides in the realms of shadows. Demeter goes to the council of gods and goddesses and demands the return of her daughter. Not wanting to anger Hades, they nevertheless reluctantly consent. But once they discover that Persephone has eaten 6 red pomegranate seeds during her stay in the underworld, they decree that she must now spend 6 months of every year trapped in the lower worlds with Hades, and the rest of the time she can return to the world of light and be reunited with her mother. Symbolically, this is the story of each one of us. We are each the innocent seed that has fallen into the lower worlds, separated from the great tree of life. We are thus souls who have forgotten our connection to Source and are lost in the underworld. 2 of Persephone's magical names give us great insight into the deeper meaning of this initiatory story. Kernel and Kore, the small kernel of wheat that has fallen from the tree of life, which is the very core of who we really are. Like Persephone, we each spend a portion of time lost in the shadow world, returning to the heavenly realms between lifetimes. The underworld is the land of spiritual amnesia, the dimension where we have forgotten our divine origins. And in the shadowy realms, the forces of light and darkness are juxtaposed, pulling us first one way and then another. This creates an opportunity for the soul to make a myriad of choices in this lifetime. You can choose a path of love or fear, of sharing or selfishness, of hope or despair. Every day we make decisions about giving or taking, anger or forgiveness, kindness or cruelty. Thus, each lifetime is a classroom of learning, and our free will determines the outcome. And then, when we die, we rise back into the realms of light and are reunited with the Divine Mother. Wow. The deathless one who lives within, another allegory of soul. All of these analogies are merely metaphors for the soul. The drop of water, the eternal flame, the cosmic seed, they are all symbols of the eternal, deathless one who lives within you. Like a great traveler moving through time, the soul possesses the spark of the Creator, but it is largely unaware of its own light. In the higher realms it knows some of who or what it is, but it descends lower and lower through the dimensional planes into the material form. So the soul goes from knowing to not knowing, from remembrance to amnesia, and finally, through its own efforts over countless lifetimes, it returns to knowing once again during the course of its long journey. It travels into various kingdoms of God, experiencing all manner of forms, spending time in the mineral, plant, animal kingdom until it finally incarnates into the world where it can begin to awaken to its divine potential. Eventually, as we graduate from this plane of existence, we will become sages, masters, gods, and angels, taking our rightful place in the pattern of creation. The Persian poet Rumi writes, "Like grass I have grown over and over again. I passed out of the mineral form and lived as a plant, and from a plant I was lifted up to be an animal. And then I put away the animal form and took on the human shape. Why should I fear that if I died I shall be lost? For passing human form, I shall attain the flowing locks and shining wings of an angel. And then I shall become what no mind has ever conceived. Oh, let me cease to exist, for non-existence only means that I shall return to him." Manly P. Hall writes this about the soul. "Man is an integral part of the whole plan of life, and the realization of this fact strengthens him for accomplishment of his spiritual labor. A noble destiny awaits humanity, a way planned by a God of wisdom, ordained by a God of justice, and perpetuated by a God of life, and rendered secure by a God of love. For our well-being, it is essential that we understand more of this royal road to truth. This universe, with its loves, its hates, its hopes and fears, is really what it seems to be, and more. The planets march endlessly, obedient to their sovereign liege. The sun, plants, animals, yes, even stones, are really pulsating, living, thinking things. Within the all is the latent power to achieve this indwelling divinity, has decreed that sometimes they shall come to know the purpose for their own existence, and with joyous conquered movement, they move together toward that end. It is the destiny of all that they shall accomplish." The all. Wow. I'll be right back. My radio just freaked out. Okay, so sorry. My stereo just like turned on and it was going weird. So, okay. So, the journey that the soul takes through all of its multiple sojourns in the earth school is just a part of the learning course curriculum for the soul. While ancient teachings teach us that the eternal part of us remains in heaven, and this is what I know to be true, the eternal part of you is still residing in heaven. Another part of you boldly chooses to come into the world of form, to experience the wonders, the sorrows, the transformation of worlds within the worlds of duality. So, in truth, as a divine spark of God, the soul has voluntarily chosen to fall into amnesia, so that it may experience all things anew. This is how it grows and evolves. Yet, because the soul is intrinsically a pure spark of God consciousness, it cannot participate in the material realm without acquiring the energetic bodies needed to be in physical form. This is what gives you your amnesia. Because if you remembered all that you are, you couldn't process it in this human brain. These are the life force, emotional, mental, astral, causal, etheric, and soul bodies, which are acquired on each of the planes above the physical world. That's what I saw too. I was in one body and I had to get into that body and learn it. And then I would be dropped down into another body and I had to get into that body and learn it. Drop down into another body, get into that body and learn it. And I saw this process of my consciousness dropping down through the layers of the dimensions. So this is like a match to that. So the physical body allows us to participate in the earth school. When the physical body perishes, the soul continues to live on in the other dimensions and planes. Wow. While the Atman, or soul self, remembers this, the physical, astral, mental bodies have forgotten their origin. Yet, each time we take birth, some part of us has deliberately chosen the conditions of that lifetime in order to learn a certain set of lessons, and how we respond to these lessons once we arrive on earth is a matter of personal choice and free will. These results can be seen in how we are living our life today. Wow. Let us step back for just a moment and look at this plan. A journey of this magnitude is profoundly courageous. And the soul who undertakes it does so in order to learn or to help its fellow citizens. Yet at the higher level, the soul knows itself to be immortal. In these higher realms, the angelic self remembers who it is. However, when we are born on earth, we fall asleep and we go into an amnesic state, completely identifying with our 5 physical senses, believing in the world of illusion. And the movie that we are making for ourselves here, throughout thousands of years of the soul's experiences, it embraces the emotions of love, joy, beauty, and communion. But it also learns and knows pain, separation, illness, suffering, fear, and illusion. It is through these various states of contrast that it is able to learn how to make wise choices, until finally, of its own free will, the soul will align with the light of its own being and return to its journey back home. What awakens us from our forgetfulness? The power of love. This has always been the key. This is why the heart is the path to our spiritual growth. Love can awaken us to a new way of seeing the world, can allow us to open up to the miracle of life. We can perceive the magical, unseen realms that lie beyond the physical world. Awakening the heart arouses our spiritual senses and creates a longing to connect back again with the infinitude of Creator itself. Love begins the yearning of the soul to reconnect with something beyond the world of matter. Then the soul becomes more aware of its own essence, and then it has the opportunity to become a spiritual guide for others. The path of the initiate, who becomes the teacher or the sage, and finally the master in service to other souls who are still trapped in the dualistic world of form. Thus in time, the soul may become a spirit guide for others, still struggling in the physical world, and eventually after it graduates from Earth's school, it is capable to transmute light that grows so strong. They may become teachers on the other side, activists or archivists in the Hall of Records, members of councils of light or elders, helping souls that are still trapped in the world of matter to move forward in their evolution. Eventually, the soul reclaims its own angelic nature in the great chain of being, a term that refers to the mystical concept of the descent of spirit into the worlds of form and back again. Upon its return to its angelic origins, it then may become involved in the creation of entire planets, worlds, systems, galaxies, and universes. This is a larger view of the course curriculum of the soul. Okay, guys, we will end today with that. I love you all. I love this information because so many parts of it have been shown to me, and I've seen things in many different ways, and I think part of the reason I see things in different ways is because as you evolve, your perception changes, and you can see things from a different place. So as we grow and learn and remember that we're soul and spirit, we're not just flesh. We are so much more than a physical body. We truly are a part of creation, and we are experiencing, learning, growing, and manifesting for creation. And that is the soul's purpose, is to do all the things for creation, because creation is all things. So through us, it gets to experience all that it is. So remember, your hands that touch the world. When you touch the world, God gets to feel it. So, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. May favor, joy, and abundance overflow in your life. And may soul be with you all. I love you dearly, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.